Thank you for your patience. We ran a little late. I'm just trying to extend my reign. We are back. We are back. Um, we will, okay, now it's 5.2. We recognize with our land acknowledgement, we recognize that the Mount Diablo Unified School District sits on the territory of the Confederated Villages of Lisjan, the ancestral and unceded land of the Bay Miwok and Northern Yokut, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Contra Costa County. As members of the MDUSD community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we learn, but also we recognize that the land we inhabit and learn on is the ancestral land of these people who are alive and flourishing members of MDUSD and broader Bay Area communities today. Um, okay, yeah, sorry, different. We can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll report out on closed session. 8.1, negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations or provide direction. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot. I'm sorry. Back up. Review and potential approval of minutes for regular board meetings, 7.2. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous board meeting.
Second.
We're on 6.2. Or whichever. We're on, yeah. Review and potential approval of minutes. Okay. Trustee Mayo second. I knew it was to my left. I don't know. And, oops, sorry, jumping the gun. That passes. 6.3, review and potential approval of agenda. Any changes? Are we good? All right.
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
And that passes unanimously. Okay, now to report out on closed session. I don't know the number, but negotiations. Okay, 7.1, the board may discuss negotiations or provide direction to its representatives regarding represented employees pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. We received information. 8.2, dismissal, 7.2, discipline, dismissal, release, or reassignment of public employee, Government Code Section 54957B1. We received information. 8.3, public employee performance evaluation, superintendent, pursuant to Government Code 54957. We received information. 8.4, expulsion of student 03-24 from regular schools in the Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Madam President, I move to approve expulsion of student 03-24. Prior to readmission, student 03-24 is required to meet the following conditions: Participate in 20 hours of counseling to address anger management and conflict resolution. Show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions. Earn 60 credits, maintain a 2.0 GPA or better, and have a 90% attendance rate. Student must remain away from all MDUSD campuses and school activities, along with no violation of school rules and Education Code 48900, 48915, or district rules and regulations.
Second.
Trustee Cowan moved it. Trustee Mayo seconded it. And that passes 5-0. 7.5, admission of student A-24 to the Mount Diablo Unified School District. We admitted student A-24 by a vote of 5-0. 7.6, expulsion of student 4-24 from regular schools in Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Madam President, I move to approve the expulsion of student 04-24 and move to suspend the enforcement of the expulsion of student 04-24 with school placement to be determined by student services. Student must participate in, prior to readmission, student 04-24 is required to meet the following conditions. Participate in 20 hours of counseling to address anger management and conflict resolution. Show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions. Earn 30 credits, maintain a 2.0 GPA or better, and have a 90% attendance rate. Student must remain away from all MDUSD campuses and school activities, along with no violation of school rules and Education Code 48900, 48915, or district rules and regulations.
I'll second that motion.
Madam President,
Yes.
I will be voting no because I don't agree with the suspension. I do agree with the expulsion. Thank you.
That passes 4-1. 7.7, existing litigation, conference with legal counsel, Government Code Section 54956, MDUSD versus CVCHS et al. Contra Costa Superior Court Case Number MSC 1500574. We received information. Okay, 8.0 public comment. So for public comment, the public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, we're good, or a total of 30 minutes, or for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public comment period may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to yield their time. So first up is Kimberly Dixon, I think. I mean, as far as the last name, we're just gonna read it. No, I was just trying to pronounce your last name correctly, but I'm not sure if I read it as
Dixon.
written. Thank you.
So I'm here to address the surgical tech program at Loma Vista Adult Education Center, which was paused, suspended on November 28th. And this put the students in really a frenzy. And the reason being is due to critical staffing issues. We tried to make contact with, well, I'm going to butcher some names here. So Victoria Abate, Mr. Clark, Jennifer Sachi, and kind of get redirected back and forth to one another and have not been able to make contact. So one of the reasons of the critical staffing issue is that the wages are not market salaries. And obviously that's a problem when these instructors can get a surgical tech job making $50 or $60 an hour. It's difficult for them to choose a job at $33 an hour, which is obviously below market rate. I'm looking for guidance and direction, basically. I have been able to obtain or make contact with a past grad from that program who is possibly willing to fill the position that they need, which is the basic skills instructor, over and above the director and the science instructor and everybody else that they no longer have either. Apparently these students can get accredited just with the basic skills instructor at this time. One of the things obviously is the salary. Being that this candidate is my niece and she owes me a lot of favors, I have asked her if that was negotiable, if there's something we could work out, and she is willing to still consider this position. However, we got to get kind of creative. One of the things would be that she would have to do a Saturday class as far as instructing the students. If the students are willing, and if that's something feasible for the school, that's a possibility. The other thing is, and I'm sorry to even bring this, to have to come to this meeting tonight to get information or provide information, but it's just been very difficult to be in contact with anybody that has any information or any ideas of how to solve this problem. If this cohort doesn't graduate this year or become accredited this year, as of next year, what would be a 13-month program will now require an associate's degree with 2 years of additional schooling. That's a hard pill for them to swallow. So if we can find a solution that would fit everybody, that'd be great. I just need somebody that I can speak to or be directed to in order to try to solve this issue and get these 15 students accredited.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you very much.
Michael Dupre.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Dupre, and I'm with the East Contra Costa NAACP. Some of you may already know me, and I'm here in support of the Black Families Coalition. And also, I want to point out that over the last several years, a lot of complaints have been made, and of course, you've seen all the news articles and the problems. There is a deep-rooted systemic racism in all of the school districts. And we do have the wherewithal and the tools to help ameliorate this, and it takes some effort. I don't think it costs an awful lot of money. It's just a lot of time and a shifting of the mentality and what you do and how you present things. And I can talk to people more later on if you need more information. Thank you.
Thank you. Rabia Tuma.
Hi there, my name is Rabia Tuma. I addressed this board earlier this fall to share with you at the time the horrible daily racial harassment and threats that my daughter, a sophomore at College Park, was getting. I'm here tonight on my own behalf and as part of the Black Families Coalition to ask you to approve indefinitely funding Mr. Darrell and Mr. OJ, our security guards that have been so welcome on the College Park campus. I think you all know, I know you all know the brutal events that happened this fall on the College Park campus. That fight was followed the very next day by another brutal fight that was less discussed. During that fight, my daughter was threatened and told she was on the list to be jumped. That was the second time she'd been told that. And while I know that the worst perpetrators of that violence are no longer on campus, at least temporarily, the school has a problem with systemic racism. Getting one group of kids off of campus doesn't remove the danger for the rest of the kids. Mr. OJ and Mr. Darrell have made an enormous difference. I describe them as a big block of calm, each of them. The kids trust them. It's bringing them onto campus tripled the number of Black adults on staff in one day. Our kids, the Black kids, now see a trusted adult more often, but it's not just them who are benefiting. Across the board, Mr. OJ and Mr. Darrell try to connect with kids of all races and all abilities. Kids come to them to seek advice when they have a frustrating or troubling situation, and we know teenagers run into those troubling situations. These men have made a difference. Taking them off campus, I think, would spark considerable trouble. And College Park is in a better state than it was before those boys were removed from campus, but it is not a fully safe place for any of the kids, especially the Black kids. And I am here to plead with you guys to indefinitely approve that contract, because those two men are making a daily difference to the safety and mental health of our children, all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosie Reed.
Good evening, Dr. Clark, members of the board. I wanted to update you all on our Hope Holiday happenings. I wanted to start always by telling you how many students we have in our district who are identified as Hope. As of today, when I walked out of the office, we have 583 students who are Hope identified, meaning that they do not have access to fixed, regular, and adequate housing. That number goes up every day. We put in 13 right before we left today. We also have 68 foster youth, and so combine that 651 students that my team is serving. We've been working very hard on our holiday drive. I think we were a little slow to start, probably because I'm new, but Teresa has been amazing. Teresa Brandt has been amazing with doing a little bit of a media blitz over Thanksgiving break, and that was incredible for not only helping to increase our donations, but having community partners reach out to us and say, hey, I'm with Concord Rapid Rehousing. We should partner. And I was able to place a single mom and her daughter with the Concord Rapid Rehousing program yesterday. So that was really wonderful as well. With the money that we've earned, we have been able to give every foster and Hope identified youth a $25 gift card to Target so that they can get a little Christmas present for themselves. But we wanted to go a little bit further. So we are having a Hope Holiday Fair on Tuesday. And we have the White Pony Express will be there with new shoes. The Assistance League just gave me like 8 garbage bags full of like brand new jackets. Our partners at the Bay Church are giving us several pallets of food, and we're going to make food bags. Our partners at the Contra Costa County Office of Education are giving us more school supplies and more backpacks. Our partners at the Rotary Club are giving us all of the really cute little art boxes. I don't know if you have seen those. They're really wonderful. So this has really been a time of just leveraging our partnerships to have this fair. In order to make sure that the families come, since we have so many amazing vendors, we're coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, can I come? Can I bring bike helmets? Like, yes, you can come bring bike helmets for the kids. We have been calling home. We called every single family in their preferred language. And the families are ecstatic, and that has also been really helpful for us to clean up our data. Our data has been really good, but of course, data is always an ongoing process. And so we were able to find students who, like these two, were identified, but they weren't linked in Aries, so we didn't identify the sibling. And now we're able to clean that up and make sure that they are linked. We are still seeking donations, so we can do as much as we can for our students. This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. If you have not yet given, there are several ways to give, including time, talent, and treasure. So if you have not yet given financially, there's at MDUSD Hope is our Venmo. So once again, that's at MDUSD Hope. We also are accepting cash or gift cards to 1026 Moore Lane in Concord, room A1. And we are also taking very gently used clothes, and we're sorting all of those and making little gift bags of like, here, size 8 girls' clothes. And my washing machine has been going constantly, so we're doing that as well. But I do need help sorting that. So if you have any time on Monday or Tuesday during the day, I'm going to be sorting all of that clothing into bags. So you could volunteer for the setup for the event. You can volunteer at the event itself on Tuesday from 3 to 7 is when I'm asking volunteers to be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Or where's the event, Ms. Reed? Oh, is that 1026 Moore? Is that Willow Creek? Yeah, okay. Linda Pete?
Good evening, Dr. Clark, board president and board members. I'm here tonight representing the Black Families Coalition. I have a daughter at College Park High School. It's with heavy heart that I'm here tonight. Since my daughter has been in kindergarten in 2011, she has been dealing with racism on various school campuses. She was called the N-word in kindergarten. Fast forward to October 2023. My daughter is telling me about things that are happening on campus, and she doesn't feel comfortable on campus. She felt better once OJ and Daryl were on campus and there were more African Americans on campus and more people to talk to and help the other students on campus. But I tell you, I went back to 1959 and wondered if I was feeling the same way Ruby Bridges' parents felt when they sent her out of the house to go to school, knowing that there were students and staff who were not going to welcome her on that campus. As a teacher, you know, we're in school where we say the Pledge of Allegiance, but I just leave you wondering, when will there be justice for all? When will all of our students feel safe on our school campuses? Thank you.
Oops, thank you. This is 9.1. I mean, 9. Yeah. So district organizations at regular board meetings, district organizations. Sorry, a single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation. Items are limited to those which are informational. Anita Johnson.
Good evening. I am Anita Johnson, president of the Mount Diablo Education Association. My pronouns are she and her. MEDIA is a united group of educators working together for the benefit of the students of the Mount Diablo Unified School District. We are thrilled to be collaborating with the district on a class size reduction initiative. If the initiative is successful, and I am confident that it will be, Students will benefit greatly from smaller class sizes. The positive effects of smaller classes are so numerous, I have not yet completed and numbered the entire list. Instead of trying to explain all of the advantages, I will focus my remarks this evening on the top 3 benefits. Smaller classes will reduce bullying, harassment, and physical assaults. When bullies have fewer bodies to hide behind, bullies will be less aggressive. When teachers are able to build stronger relationships with students, the issues that bullies face can be addressed proactively. Smaller class sizes will increase student engagement and build social emotional resilience. When teachers are more able to address each student and build relationships with them, students will feel more connected. Smaller class size will increase student learning because there will be more time during each lesson for questions and discussions. We all know that as the number of people in a meeting decreases, the opportunities for real engagement increase. I am passionate about lower class sizes, and I know many of you are as well. I know that it is a very important goal for parents. That is why I am confident that this initiative will pass, and I'm eager to engage in this work. As this is the last meeting of the calendar year, please let me take this opportunity to thank you, the trustees, for your service this year. I appreciate all that you do. You are all dedicating untold volunteer hours to this district. That is appreciated. I know you all care deeply about our students and our district and the experiences our students encounter on our campuses. You want what is best for our students. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Okay, 10, sorry. 11.1, review and potential approval of Resolution 2324-26 in recognition of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
Madam President, I present to this board Resolution 23/24-26. Whereas in 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. received the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo, Norway, for his dynamic leadership of the civil rights movement and steadfast commitment to achieving racial justice through nonviolent action. He pledged the prize money to the movement's continued development. At age 35, Dr. King became the youngest man and only the second African American to receive the prestigious award. And whereas we proudly follow Dr. King's legacy by advocating for peace and justice for all, people exhibiting cultural competency, reflexivity, and humility, and celebrating our diversity with numerous events within the Mount Diablo Unified School District community throughout the year. Now, therefore, the governing board of the Mount Diablo Unified School District hereby calls upon school district and community members to observe this day by actively participating in civic, community, and service projects in honor of Dr. King's 95th birthday, and to commemorate the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, and recommit to living our shared MDUSD values, including equal access to educational opportunities within an educational environment that builds trust and inclusive partnerships between students, parents, guardians, and staff. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you. I can entertain a motion.
Yeah, we're all trying to give each other the opportunity. Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 2324-26 in recognition of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I think this is a very timely topic for us, given our speakers tonight. And I want to thank the NAACP for coming out tonight and for the Black Families Coalition for all of their work. This is the work we have to do.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. And I'll add, I feel like Dr. Dr. King's words, especially in recent history, are being used in the complete opposite way of his intention, and the kind of man and fighter for justice is being misrepresented. And what I mean is the side that is not right and just will say things that, like, a lot of the things that this board prioritizes and passes, they would say Dr. King would be. Bleh. So I encourage people, if you are on social media, to follow his youngest daughter, Bernice King, because she does an excellent job of articulating her father's words and how they and his actions and how they apply to our current climate. There we go. And that passes 5-0. 10.2. Review. Oh, and we should also note, like, school is out for a really long time. So Martin Luther King Day is like right when we come back. So get that service in your first weekend off from having 3 weeks off from school. Review and potential approval of Resolution 2324-27 in recognition of January as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Month.
Yeah, so whereas in 2010, President Barack Obama issued a presidential proclamation designating each January to be National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And whereas slavery has not ceased to exist, but instead has been rebranded and is growing at an alarming rate, with victims forced into modern slavery and subjected to commercial sexual exploitation, forced labor, involuntary domestic servitude, forced marriage, and debt bondage. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District does hereby proclaim January 2024 as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month, and urges all residents to participate in the efforts to raise awareness of and end all forms of human trafficking in our communities, and encourages schools and law enforcement to continue partnerships that support Contra Costa County's youth impacted by human trafficking. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I'll move that the board approve Resolution 23/24-27 in recognition of National Slavery and Human Trafficking Month.
Second.
I'd also just like to point out one of the resources from the resolution for everyone out there is ContraCostaAlliance.org. It's the Alliance to End Abuse that has incredible resources for parents, for educators, trip-free trainings that you can access. A lot of great resources there.
Thank you. Is that the same group that came? We had a presentation some time.
Yes, I believe so. And also there's a human trafficking office now within the district attorney's office that consolidates all of and tracks any of the human trafficking across cities, which didn't used to happen. So that's a really incredible resource that we have. So we should make sure that all of our school sites have the phone number that you can call directly to their office.
I just wanted to interject that we will be, we're working with an organization and partnering with this organization, so that we're going to be bringing trainings to the majority of our campuses. So that's something that Dr. Aguili is helping me spearhead. So more to come on that.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And that passes 5-0.
Oh.
11.3 or 10.3. Review and potential approval of Resolution 2324-31 for equity in the arts. And this was presented for information at our last meeting.
Yeah, so this is a lengthy resolution, and it's really around the work that we're going to be doing around arts over the next several years here in Mount Diablo, which we're very excited about, but I'll just read just a little bit from it. So whereas the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District acknowledges that arts learning, which includes dance, music, theater, and visual and media arts, is an essential part of a comprehensive education for all students, pre-K through 12, to prepare them for college, career, and life. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education adopts this resolution and commits to taking the following actions. Post the Arts Equity District badge on the district website. Encourage students to participate in the visual and performing arts that will help promote their academic achievement, express creativity, and support social development. Dedicate appropriate resources providing suitable equipment, materials, and facilities that allow our students to participate in visual and performing arts learning. Promote arts learning that honors all cultures and languages by developing staff capacities, identifying community resources, and creating opportunities for students to contribute to the design of their learning. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 2324-31 for equity in the arts.
Second.
And I'd also just like to thank Create California and everyone from our school district who is involved in our arts strategic planning group. And this was one of the items that came out of that work.
Okay, that passes 5-0. 10.4, review and potential approval of resolution 2324-32, recognizing January 23rd, 2024 as Ed Roberts Day.
You may ask, who is Ed Roberts? Well, whereas Edward Vern Roberts was born January 23rd, 1939, and as an adolescent in 1953, he acquired polio and spent vast expanses of time in an iron lung. And whereas Roberts' career as an advocate began when a high school administrator threatened to deny him a diploma because he had not completed driver's education and physical education. Whereas in 1975, Roberts was appointed the director of the California Department of Rehabilitation, and in 1983, Roberts co-founded the World Institute on Disability, an organization committed to eliminating barriers to full social integration for persons with disabilities. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education supports the designation of an Ed Roberts Day and acknowledges the accomplishments of Ed Roberts in helping reduce barriers, increase access, and improve lives for persons with disabilities. Madam President, this resolution is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that the board approve resolution 23/24-32, recognizing January 23rd, 2024 as Ed Roberts Day.
I'll second that.
That passes 5-0. 10.5. Review and potential approval of resolution 2324-34, authorization to submit grant application for California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Program, CalShape.
Yes. Whereas the California Energy Commission, California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency, which is CalShape, program provides grants to local educational agencies that include school district, charter schools, and regional occupational programs to fund the assessment, maintenance, and repair of ventilation systems, installation of carbon dioxide monitors, and replacement of non-compliant plumbing fixtures and appliances. Be it also resolved that it is recommended for funding by the California Energy Commission, the Mount Diablo Unified School District Board of Education authorizes MDUSD to accept a grant up to over $5 million and accept all grant agreements, terms, and conditions. Be it further resolved that Superintendent Adam Clark, the Chief Business Officer Adrian Vargas are hereby authorized and empowered to execute in the name of MDUSD all necessary documents to implement and carry out the purpose of this resolution and to undertake all actions necessary to undertake and complete the energy efficiency projects. Madam President, this item is now in the hands of the board.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move to approve Resolution 2324-34, authorization to submit grant application for California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Program, CalShape.
Second that?
And I just want to say I'm very excited about this because we were just at the statewide school boards conference where I saw a presentation on this, and I was wondering whether our district had yet taken advantage of this incredible opportunity. I know so many students and families really want to see our heating and air improved. And the idea that there are state funds that we can apply for and hopefully win approval for over $5 million is an incredible opportunity. So thank you to all the staff who worked really hard on that.
That passes 5-0. 10.6. Review and potential approval of Board Resolution 2324-35 for personnel with provisional internship permits.
Dr. Rubio will take the next two items.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Clark. Before you, our first item is a provisional internship permit available for one of our employees, which gives our employees additional time to complete competence requirements needed to enter an internship program.
Make a motion to approve the provisional internship permits.
Second.
That passes 5-0.
Thank you. Similarly, the next item, 10.7, is for a variable term waiver, which gives our applicants or employees additional time to complete certain requirements for their credential that authorizes their service, and we have 5 employees eligible for that type of variable term waiver.
Madam President, I move the board approve resolution 23/24-36 for personnel with variable term waivers.
I'll second that.
That passes 5-0.
Thank you.
We don't have 12.0. I don't know what number we're going to be on, so I'm going to wait. Okay, this is now 12.0. Review of school plans for student achievement.
Call up Ms. Sachs and her team. Oh, Ms. Filios. All right.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Clark. As you know, annually, one of the important jobs of our school site councils at every site is to evaluate the effectiveness of the school plan for student achievement and to approve the current school plan for achievement. So tonight we are bringing forth our plans for information only, and we will be bringing the plans back in January for approval. I did want to highlight just a few things. You may have noticed that we have now moved all of our school site plans to the new format. So we have one format across the district. And we started that work actually in June to help our schools that had been on the other format understand the components of the plan and prepare for the data analysis and presentations to their site councils. As part of that format, there is an extensive section of the plan that does have school data to be looked at and analyzed with conclusions drawn. And also you will note that our school plans are very tightly aligned to our LCAP plan to help for coherence across the district and then at each site. I'd also like to thank, we have a few of our site principals here tonight representing all of our schools, and I want to thank them for being here. We have Mr. Eric Wood from Sun Terrace Elementary, Ms. Carolyn Hull from Fair Oaks Elementary, and Ms. Aurelia Buscemi from Valley View Middle School.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, trustees?
I would just say I read these every year, and I'll get through the rest of them now throughout the year. And there's always something that stands out. And I'm always impressed with Sunterra's STEM program, but they really have a lot of parent support. That was evident in their report. Fair Oaks have a math program that looks like it's being very successful. And again, the parents are very, very supportive of the teachers. Valley View really goes above and beyond to include the parents, to invite them in at the beginning to give input on programs. And then Ignatia Valley with their IB, and then it sounds like they have a thriving CARES program there, which makes me happy because that's one of my favorite people that's running that program there. So I enjoy reading them. It really gives us a good flavor of what's going on at the school. And I'm glad we moved this to the beginning of the meeting. It used to be at the end and the poor principals would have to sit here all night.
Just to say nothing. I mean, because we didn't have any questions. So yeah.
I have a couple of things that I really liked seeing in YV's ZIPSA, including some that were already mentioned, but also I really liked the implementation of the YV way, which is something I've seen at schools who have made huge strides in school culture. So that was great to see. I also really liked everything about the support of freshmen. And kind of giving them that extra support that they need, including breaking down the walls. That program I've seen firsthand is great. And so I really was so encouraged by so much of what I saw in the plan, and it was such a detailed, all the plans were so detailed and so well written. And when I looked at kind of who's on the school site council and looking at kind of the number of people involved and just the incredible beast of that work, I'm just so appreciative of everyone involved in that process.
Good work.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you again next month.
Thank you.
Next year.
Yes. I will share comments with Mr. Pike, who's unfortunately not feeling well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all principals. The number commission 12.2. No, sorry. Are we really? Okay, I need to just put this away and not look at the paper version. 13.1, sorry. Trustees, board member reports. Who would like to go first? How about Trustee McFerrin? I know, but now you've got, yeah.
All right. I will be brief. A couple of weeks ago, I attended the CSBA conference. I had not been able to go before. It's really hard to kind of manage that with my teaching schedule. But it being in San Francisco was incredibly helpful. And I saw everyone there. So it was great that we were all able to attend. I was able to attend some sessions on the state budget. That was really interesting. That was a packed room. Just as well as some other really great sessions. One highlight was seeing SalCon, especially speaking about kind of the current status of AI and how AI can be used to support students in classrooms. That was pretty fascinating, just as an English teacher who is, hesitantly interested and also nervous. And then last week I was able to attend the CAC holiday party and had a hard time finding a parking place. And was thrilled to see that. It was very, very well attended. And so our CAC did an excellent job of planning the party, getting the word out, and the community showed up. And so that was a big recent highlight for me. And that is what I have to share this evening.
Thank you. Trustee Mason.
On the local level, it's been so long since we had a meeting, but in November, I went to Mount Diablo High School BASIS program. They had a little community feast and was very impressed with the students there and had great conversations with them. And again, I always remind schools, if you're listening, if you invite us, we usually come to these things. We like to do that. Also, I will say that Operation Turkey went off without a hitch in Bay Point. We gave away 75 turkeys to the schools out in the Bay Point community and the one school up in Pittsburgh. I too went to the CSBA conference, and this is always my longest report of the year because I actually tell you what I did there. So I went to the session on federal issues, and basically if the House doesn't do anything, which is what they've been doing all year, there will be a 1% increase for 2024, and that's it. Congress has proposed an 80% cut in Title I, which we're hoping the Senate will not approve because that would devastate some of our schools. There are 33 House members not returning and 8 Senate members not returning as well. I also went to the impact of divisiveness in schools and students in government. And a professor there has done a study and said actually 67% of the people feel that school boards are under attack, that she has found that since COVID, people are not disengaging from public schools. While some want more input in school content, 50% of parents believe that they can have their kids opt out. It's not necessary to ban things. Their kids can just opt out of things. It was interesting that one school board member, and I thought this is very true, I think she was from Pomona, shared that often during public comment, a lot of disinformation is shared, which the board can't respond to, and then it becomes the word out there, which it's not accurate oftentimes. I went to one on legal issues. The big legal issues are going to be gender identity and the student's right to privacy, the banning of books and curriculum, and the disruption of school board meetings. And there are hints there was to follow your policy, stick to your time. And if it gets to be really bad, we're really here to do the school's business. So we can move that to the beginning of the meeting and public comment to the end of the meeting. If it begins to become disruptive, I will say I feel very fortunate. We have not had that problem here at Mount Diablo. The state of California, I thought this was fascinating. California is now the 4th in world economy. It's the USA, China, Japan, California, and then Germany. It's the first time we passed up Germany. And then there were followed by no discussion whatsoever about changing the way they fund schools in California. If we could be our own country, I think we could do a little better. We could pay a little more and do it on enrollment, not on attendance. And current issues, cybersecurity and AI are big topics to be looking at, and school safety, to have active school shooter trainings, have a distinct alarm that's different for an intruder than any other alarm, and establish a single point of entry and regularly review policy and practice drills. All in all, I think Mount Diablo is doing pretty good on all those.
Trustee Cowan?
All right. So the CSBA conference was, State School Boards Conference was very informative. So I won't report on the federal level. Thank you for doing that. I think most of us attended ethics training as well, which is a new requirement for school boards, and that was very informative for us as well. I also attended Healthy Governance in Contentious Times, which had some similarities to what's been said. I really enjoyed hearing from Sal Khan and seeing the Conmigo demonstration in action, both how it benefits students, but also how it could really save time for teachers potentially. And yet it's it seems to me it's a much safer environment than just the wide open generative AI that's out there, like a ChatGPT type of thing. I did go to a specific AI presentation. One of the key takeaways was if you're ever using any of those generative OpenAI tools, make sure that you never include personal information, or that if anyone's using it to record a meeting just to take notes or something like that, also make sure no one shares personal information because it becomes publicly searchable. So avoid that. The workshop that I attended that I got the most out of was called Behavior Threat Assessments. And this was held by the Roseville Joint Union High School District. And they talked about building a culture of care. And they talked about how many of our districts have an anonymous reporting system or reporting system of some sort, like we do, where we ask people to if you see something, say something, right? But what happens when they do? What happens next? How clear are we and how clear are our staff and the public about what exactly those next steps are? So the behavior threat assessment system, they describe it as this is what happens next. And it creates a clear way for everyone on campus to understand what those next steps are, what the supports are that we have to tap into for students who are struggling. And then what is the system that we're using to make sure that no student falls through the cracks if they're identified as struggling at some point, and then will we lose track of them and they end up losing that support. So the definition of behavioral threat assessment is it's a preventative practice intended to address targeted violence. It utilizes disciplinary teams who meet regularly to review cases, manage, and monitor. And in their example, that team included the administration, school psychologist, counselor, and law enforcement together. It's fact-based and systematic, so it's not just based on, oh, someone feels like someone's unsafe, and that person's going to be like on a list for expulsion or something. It's not about that. It's about really providing support, and then the support is there with interventions, communication, PBAS, and trauma-informed care. This Roseville Joint Union High School District has now been trained to be trainers. So we do have an opportunity where we could potentially hear from them more than I can express to you about what their model looks like and what we can learn from it. So I was very excited about that. And then on the fun community side, really enjoyed the CAC holiday party. It was just so wonderful to see students and families connect and support each other. There was the younger student who had a visual impairment who looked up to an older student. So Penny and Angel are connected. You guys are amazing. It's so wonderful when students, really support each other. I also was able to attend the International Baccalaureate Information Nights at a number of our middle schools. I was really glad to see that beginning to happen so that more families in middle school understand what IB even is and what the opportunity is. I got to go to the YVHS robotics potluck and film showing. So PG&E has sponsored a film that really tells the story of how robotics started and grew into this really successful venture that's led by students. So we can share out that video, I think, sometime soon. And then just being able to go to all of the music concert and arts concerts that are happening, in this December holiday. So hearing jazz and classical and drama productions. I love seeing the arts alive and well in our district, and I'm so excited about how they will expand and grow with our strategic arts plan. So happy holidays, everyone.
Trustee Mayo.
We'll see how quickly we can get through all this, right? First, I'd like to do a call out and a thank you to the California Retired Teachers Association, Diablo Vista, for awarding grants to Mount Diablo Unified School District teachers at Highlands. It was Carrie D. and Kristen W. College Park, Julian received a grant to chemistry. Gregory Gardens, Loma M. and Megan B. Sequoia Middle School, Angela received a grant. Ignacio Valley Elementary, Sophia M. received a grant, and Northgate High School, Amanda K. received a grant. This is a group that doesn't get a lot of applause very frequently, and they support our staff members and also provide scholarships at the end of the year. So if you ever have an opportunity to contribute to this group, I would suggest that you do. I also don't think I called out earlier the fact that Pleasant Hill 4th of July committee presented funds to the Pleasant Hill schools from their 2023 firecracker run, the 5K run. And so, it takes them a little while to get those funds out, but they deliver them to the schools and they're always well received. As far as I attended the Parent Advisory Committee meeting on November 14th. And then, of course, we all went to the CSBA conference, and it was great to finally have all board members there. Folks think that we hang together the entire time, but we do not. I seldom saw the rest of you during the conference.
Except for when you saved our seats during the plenary session.
Several of us went to the ethics training for trustees, and then I went to ensuring equal treatment and access for students, all things online from artificial intelligence to social media, and community engagement practices for board meetings and beyond. This was presented by the Cal SPRA, the School Public Relations Association. And it was a great session on how different tips on promoting information about your school district to your school community. I went to the one on court cases, and there was a presentation on the outcome of various cases and also on pending matters. And then I attended the professional learning communities are key to ensuring learning for all. Dr. Clark was presenting on the panel, and I wanted to find out what he was going to say about us. But based on the presentation of all 4 panelists, I want to congratulate Mount Diablo School District for being involved with professional learning communities and recognize how far it has brought us in this journey. My final one that I attended was on school bonds, and it's actually was the facilities bonds. And there was an explanation of the Prop 46 and Prop 39 differences and the changes since 2020. There were several comments made during that session, but I won't go into them for detail right now. The one that I enjoyed the most, which has been mentioned, because there's several different versions of this conference, is Show Me the Money. And this particular session includes comments from the Ledge Analyst's Office, whereas the other one includes, what is it? The Secretary of State makes budget comments and predictions. And the news is out. We're projected to face a $68 billion deficit in the coming fiscal year, which is up $15 billion when the 2023-24 budget was just signed in June. And there are many factors regarding that. And I've got a couple paragraphs there, but I'll skip those. But the LAO estimates that the funding requirement to meet the Prop 98 guarantee will drop by $21 billion. However, the LAO notes that the automatic reduction to the guarantee in the current year is closer to $4.3 billion due to a reduction in deposits in the Prop 98 reserve account and other adjustments. To address the impacts of schools, the LAO suggested using the Prop 98 reserve and reducing other one-time funding as one possible solution to help bridge the remaining $16.7 billion gap. He also mentioned deferrals in 24-25 may be an option, a no COLA, and the funding for Prop 28, the ART initiative, may be flat. And he recommended a slow walk for implementation until all the regulations are worked out for Proposition 28. So, you know, bad news, but let's hope everybody does a lot of Christmas shopping this year. The CAC holiday party was exciting. The team that put that on and the staff members that were involved with it were so excited with the turnout. I personally know that Santa gave out over 80 bags to children who sat on his lap. So it was a very productive event. And for the YV High School robotics event, in addition to the film that PG&E produced, which will be posted on their website and is very engaging, I believe that PG&E also donated a van to transport the robot. So watch for this robot to be moving all over the country. And finally, I wanted to share that the Mount Diablo Education Foundation met their Giving Tuesday goal, and I want to thank everyone who donated to it. And they raised over $12,000 for programs in our schools. And currently, board members are applying all their energy to grant applications at this time for outdoor education camps. And I personally hope that all the grants are awarded. Thank you.
Thank you. So you all heard about the conference. I will just, the only thing I will affirm is I totally like fangirled over SalCon because Khan Academy has been a regular in my household since my child was in elementary school, and this Common Core math makes no sense. And those videos come in clutch, and it's just cool to see the voice, because if you use Khan Academy, there's no face, it's just a hand doing the math. And I'd seen his face obviously because Google, but to see him in person was kind of cool, and that the voice is exactly the same, but especially his thoughts and learnings or teachings around AI and the value that it can have, especially because everyone learns so differently. And in education, generally, we cannot um, individualize how children are taught, and how AI can be really beneficial and is seen to be beneficial in giving students what they need when they know how to use it properly, and the protections that he talked about of protecting children when using AI. I want to acknowledge all that we've heard about College Park, since I live it as well. But what I want to especially acknowledge is that um, since I moved into this district, however many years ago, can't do the math, but a little while ago, the change in how we respond to racial incidents and racial bullying is so clear, especially in this calendar year, and that while it is still feels way too slow, it is able to be felt and seen that the ways of yesteryear are no longer, where we just ignore things or don't believe children or families, don't believe staff, who often, like, they live in the same community, so go through the same things. And we've witnessed, I feel like, in these last couple of years, of how courageous students are in general, like things that we learn about that happen at school, that probably have happened for a really long time, but it's this generation that speaks up. I feel like we're building that ability to allow students and families to be courageous when it comes to racial bullying and hopefully other hateful bullying that occurs. So I just want to acknowledge that we are at a different place now, and that our district is doing things and not sitting on our hands and letting it just go by and letting children suffer. This is our 3rd anniversary on the board, Trustee McFerrin. Did you know that I'm the one that I keep count of our anniversary, and it's also my last few moments as president. The only thing between me and this gavel, having to let it go, is Dr. Clark's presentation. But I just wanted, to my fellow trustees, I just really, like, I was shocked when you nominated me as VP a couple years ago. I was like, that came out of nowhere. But just, I appreciate your confidence in my leadership, and it's been an absolute pleasure serving this year in this seat. And I look forward to seeing where I move in a few minutes. Dr. Clark.
Thank you so much. And I did really enjoy having all 5 of you actually all 6 of you with our student board member, Trustee Barrios, and having all of you at the CSBA conference. And hopefully it's a conference designed for and by board members. And so I hope that you all were able to get out of it all that it had to offer. And hearing those reports, it really sounds like you made the most of your time there. So thank you for that. So I'm going to do 2 reports tonight. First of all, I hate to start kind of on a downer, but I'm going to share suspension rates with you. This is from the beginning of school until November, and I will come back in the spring and do a spring update, and then I'll do another one at the end of the year. I think you know, I share this information. It's intentional, because again, I think as President Nzewi said, that you know, there may have been a culture, or sometimes there's cultures in school districts to sweep this under the rug and not address it head on, and you know, make excuses or point fingers or blame or whatnot. And I believe in putting it out there and calling it what it is, and then working extra hard to address the factors that lead to suspensions and students having to be removed from class or removed from school. So so I'm going to go through this quickly. I just want to say that all of my presentations are posted online, so if you want to go back and break it down and look at it closely, the public and all staff and whatnot and everyone in here has that opportunity. So as we share our information, this is sort of just district-wide data. And I know people often ask, why do you always break things down into race, or why do you always break it down into disability or socioeconomic level? And this is what the state requires us to do. So this isn't our doing here in Mount Diablo. It's how the state expects us and demands that we report this information out. So what I'm going to start with here are just basically our raw suspension counts, and these are unduplicated suspensions. So each of these represents a different suspension. And here you have our overall suspensions, which is 616. You have it broken down: African American students, American Indian, Alaskan background, Asian, Hispanic, Latino, Native Hawaiian, white, 2 or more races, socioeconomically disadvantaged. So those are students who come from backgrounds that are disadvantaged economically. And then we break it down with our English learners and students with disabilities. And in this chart here, because we're in California and because of the LCAP, California pays very close attention to our foster youth. And so you can see we have 58 students in the foster system, and of that, 7 of those students were suspended for a very high suspension rate of 10%. So it's almost 1 out of every 10 foster youth will be or had been suspended in basically almost the first half of the school year. Next, and we had Miss Reed here earlier speaking about HOPE students, and I know this number might be a little off from what she just gave, but it does change. It was 498 HOPE students, and of those, 45 of them were suspended for a high percentage of 8.3. So our suspension rate, and this is this is disturbing data, but it is our data. So district-wide, 2% of all students have at least one suspension. So out of our 29,000 students, 2% have been suspended. When we break it down by demographics, we have 1% of our Asian students have been suspended, 1% of our white students have been suspended, students who claim 2 or more races, 2%, 3% Hispanic, American Indian, Alaskan Native, 3%, Pacific Islander, 5%, and our African American students are at the highest, at least by demographics, that's 7%. I will say that unfortunately, and I'm sad to say this, but our African American students are disciplined different than our other groups, and that is something that we are working towards. That's something that everyone's going to have to come together on this. There's no blaming or pointing fingers or whatnot, but we're going to have to come together on this. We do have a program because we are, our African Americans are disproportionately suspended at higher rates than all of our other groups. And we do have a program that addresses that. And we're still looking for full-on support from all of our partners. It's still not there. And at least we're making an effort to try to address this. And it's really disappointing that everyone's not on board. But we do have, the majority of people are on board, but we just have some key leaders who still need to get on board by that. And then by program, we have our socially economically disadvantaged students at 3%, English learners at 3%, special education at 4%, and our HOPE students at 8%, and unfortunately our foster youth at 11%. And there are 100% situations where students need to be removed from school for safety reasons, for all sorts of reasons. It does happen. But what my message is, I want to make sure that we're doing everything else before that happens. And if something happens and we have to suspend, then I'm all for it. But are we forging relationships with our students? Are we communicating with parents? Are we treating students equally and fairly? Are we treating students with equity? Are we trying to fill those gaps that students might have? And so that's the work that we've been doing. So real quickly, I'll go over the different school levels. So as we look at elementary, pretty not a whole bunch of, not a large number of suspensions in elementary school. I mean, this whole first page, we have one school with 4 suspensions. We have several schools with 0 suspensions and a couple with 1 or 2 suspensions. As I go to the next elementary page, again, we have a school with 4 suspensions. Most of them have 0, and there's 1 or 2 that have 1 suspension or 2 suspensions. And the last page of elementary, again, we have a school with 4 suspensions, and the rest are 1, 0, or 2. So overall, there's been a total of 38 elementary school students that have been suspended within our district. And I know 4 of those were from Sunrise, and that's preschool. So as we now go to our middle schools, which, our middle schools are larger, students are, experiencing different things. And so sometimes those numbers tend to.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
What did the 4-year-olds and 3-year-olds do?
Oh, I don't have that. Yeah, I don't have that here on this report.
Thank you. I had to be asked.
So,
Yes, that doesn't need to be asked.
yeah, so again, I'm just sharing data here, not reviewing those incidents. Yeah. So in middle school, the numbers fluctuate, but I will say, just looking at some of the outliers, we have Pine Hollow Middle School with 58 suspensions out of only 500 students. So that's they have a 10%, 10% of their students have been suspended. We have Riverview, which is at 56 students out of 688. They're at 8%. It's some schools with 0, Holbrook, they have very, very few middle schoolers there. So that kind of contributes to that. Pleasant Hill Middle is low, Sequoia Middle is low. And Valley View, which I do want to point out, they used to have large numbers of suspensions, and now they're one of our lowest. So
Could you explain what not mastered and mastered stands for?
yeah, so not mastered is basically how we organize it, that if a student is suspended, we categorize that as not mastered. And if a student has not been suspended, we count that as mastered. So it's like a skill level. We usually use this program to run these numbers as have you mastered a standard or a skill set. So as we go into high school, this is my last slide here. High school numbers are a little larger. College Now, surprisingly, zero suspensions. We love our College Now program. We're expanding that. That's where the students are actually getting their instruction over at DVC. Great program. College Park, 47. Concord High, 14. Glenbrook Academy, 5. Horizons, 22. Mount Diablo High School is leading the way with 181. As I met with their admin team over there, they explained to me that many of these are also in-house suspensions, meaning that students aren't sent home, but they're being removed from class. And so what they needed to understand was that those also count as suspensions. Whenever a student is not receiving their primary instruction from the credentialed person, that is for disciplinary reasons, that counts as a suspension. Northgate, 26. Olympic, 15. I want to highlight that. I'm doing a good job over at Olympics. Prospects, 11. Ignacio Valley, which is also down. They're at 33 suspensions. So total high school has been 300 and actually, let me make sure. Yeah, actually that's the total of 353. So total of everyone, 353 suspensions. So again, just I know it's kind of downer news at to be kicking off the holiday and our last meetings and all this, but I think it's important that we talk about it, and that we we continue to review our policies, procedures. Those interventions are critical, but really it's that first time instruction, it's that classroom experience, it's the relationship with families, that really sets the tone for this. But we fully understand that there are fights, there are weapons, and we can't tolerate that. And so that needs to be addressed, and oftentimes it's addressed by removal from class and school. Any questions on suspensions? All right, can I have the next presentation? Hopefully I can liven things up a little bit here.
I would just say, Dr. Clark, it was helpful for when you mentioned on these charts which schools had made improvements from previous.
Yeah.
So perhaps in our later reports later in the year, we could see a comparison from, over time.
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
able to see
and I have to say, I mean, we work extremely hard on this. These are a lot better than what has been in the past. So really, we've made improvements across the board. I do want to highlight the tremendous amount of stress and pressure that our students are under, and some of those challenges that that they're facing. I mean, we just said we have 500 students who have housing insecurity. That right there creates a level of stress that is unimaginable to to many folks. And so lots of work to be done, but also want to acknowledge and give credit where credit is due. But we still have lots of work to do, and we'll continue working on this extremely hard. I think I can see this. Again, just reviewing those LCAP goals. About that high quality education in a safe and welcoming environment, high quality and responsive staff, engaging instruction, respectful of all students' background, really, utilizing parents and family and community members as partners, keeping them informed and engaged. And then this is kind of what I was hitting at earlier, goal 4, where we do have those focal scholars. We do have that focal scholar program that, we want to see we want to see successful, and we're almost there, getting there. But it calls out those students who you saw highlighted in the suspensions, and academics and attendance. It follows along the same type of pattern. So that's why we want to pay special attention to them. And again, we're still really connected with the partnership with CCEE. They continue to provide us support that we are internally grateful for. Linda Pete is not here anymore. Oh, is she? Where is she? Oh, there she is. Oh, good. See, now I'm gonna give her those. Okay, I'm gonna give her some kudos. So she has she has organized this at all 5 of our comprehensive high schools. I've had the fortunate opportunity to go to Concord High, Northgate High, and last night I was at Mount Diablo High, Miss College Park, and YV. But it is a powerful presentation that everyone should see. And it's just a community intervention that Miss Pete is really leading here. So I really want to acknowledge her work with that. And it's they're just so professionally done, on time, really engaging speakers, really informative speakers, and I couldn't be more impressed. She informed me today, and I probably should have known it already, but now we're going to middle schools. So we're not going to hit them all, but we're going to try to hit the majority of them. But this work continues, and really just appreciate her dedication on this. Just a preview, we're going to be doing a similar tour on gun safety coming up soon. And because if you take guns and then you take fentanyl, those are the leading killers of our young people. And so we have a moral imperative to get the word out and to really help our communities overcome some of these challenges. So,
Dr. Clark, can I just ask on this? I do think the presentation that I went to was just incredible. So thank you so much, Ms. Pete. Are any of these going to be recorded at some point in time for people who haven't been able to physically make it out? I know it's much more engaging to be there in person for sure.
They're not recorded. I don't know that we have a plan to record. But anyway, it's a good
Yeah,
suggestion.
just a thought.
Bring it back to the team and whatnot. So anyway, I'll read this real quick. Just the purpose of these events are to share the latest information and data about the dangers of fentanyl and train families and students how to recognize an opioid overdose and administer Narcan to try to save a life. Parents and their students are encouraged to attend. And I got to say that it is really warming to look in the crowd and see parents there with their kids, and they're doing something, right? And so just hats off to that whole department who's been putting those on. So as you know, as I talked about students who are suffering and students who are under stress and things like that, just there was some research that was out there. This was in the Educator's Guide to Building Child and Family Resilience. And something that can really help our students is reading, is actually learning to read and finding that joy in reading. There's a certain trustee here who just reads consistently over time, and she seems to be very resilient and happy and stuff like that. So let her be an example here. But children who read frequently self-report better mental health. Literacy motivates kids. Access to books that pique a child's curiosity paves the way to academic success and builds empathy. Resiliency is a muscle. So, right, the more resilient it is, you use that muscle and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. If you don't use it, then it's not strong. So resilience is a set of skills that can be developed and sharpened over time, including when children experience traumatic events. And then classroom relationships are critical. Educators who cultivate positive connections with kids instill more security and confidence in children. So those are things that we continue to talk about, that we continue to encourage and support along the way. So hopefully, we continue to really, push that literacy and those reading skills throughout all of our young people. I wanted to share just, we've been doing a lot of professional development, and just hats off to Jennifer Sachs and her entire team. There's too many to name here, but this was our PD on Monday, and it's really about that collaborative inquiry. And one of the things that I'm very proud of that we've been able to establish in this district through hard work and through relationships is this whole model here. Those four dots on the outside, none of them can do this work on their own. They're interdependent on the other. And so we have at the very top, we have the school site leadership team, which is a mix of administrators, teachers, other staff members. Then we have the principal as that sole leader of that campus. The principal is solely responsible for his or her campus, and they're that leader. And then we have the district leadership team, and then broken down even more, we have those grade level and department chairs. And with all four of those groups working together and collaboratively, they're really positively impacting student learning. So we're very excited about that work that's taking place. And we're going to continue down this path. We are committed to improving the academic and educational outcomes of all of our students. Here go just a couple pictures of results of that learning. Over on the left, we have students who are learning this kind of the science of food and gardens and whatnot. And so you see the students are going through a lesson, and then you see the different vegetables there at the bottom that were grown in their garden. Middle upper is two kids. Nothing better than seeing two kids reading together. And then right below that is something that was at one of our PLCs. And literally when they were giving these out, it was like Oprah giving away cars. It was like, you get a white book, you get a white book. And like these teachers were so excited to get these white books, WIPE books, because the students write on them, then they're able to wipe it away or whatnot. But since they've been doing this, and I've been going out to multiple schools, like the kids are using these, the teachers are instructing with these, but the great thing about it, and it's just what the picture depicts in all three of those pictures, they're working together, solving mathematical problems, collaborating, talking, laughing, bringing different types of kids together, right? And there's this whole thing about random grouping. So you don't always have students who are always working with their friends, or students who get it are always working together, and students who don't get it are kind of clumped together. But this is that, you know, that multicultural work in action. And I could just show hundreds of pictures of this happening. So as you're going around schools, and they even do this in middle school. I've seen it in middle school. So so ask to see this, and I'm sure the principals or teachers would be more than happy to show off this this work. Who knew that a you know, flip chart would be so important? I could call Jen Sachs up here to give us the history of all this, but I won't put her on the spot here. So then this is something else that just warms my heart, because this is something that I'm assuming that it's happening in all of our high schools, but here's evidence that it's happening at Northgate at least. And these are freshmen who are sitting with their counselor, going over their 4-year plan, talking about, and again, the Naviance is a tool, it's a platform, but like, you don't need this. All you need is a room and a counselor and kids. And so here's evidence, and this warms my heart to see these freshmen really going over their 4-year plan, figuring out what classes they need to take, and you know, so that they can meet whatever goals it is. So just thrilled at this picture. Of course, you guys touched on it earlier, but the YV robotics team, you know, our teacher of the year, I think it's no secret, his commitment to the young people, his commitment to his craft, his profession, to his culture, to our communities, and it plays out here. Those kids totally run that program, and the teacher just facilitates. And here they've gone out and hustled up a $10,000 you know, award from PG&E. So just very, very proud of them. I've talked about the Olympic Alliance staff several times, but you know, here you have the staff being silly, doing Spirit Day, you know, dressed in silly clothes and all this type of stuff. Everyone's participating. Just you know, great leadership at that school for our kids who really need that support and need those caring adults. Here's evidence of it right here. You know, speaking of College Park, here is just, you know, our young people just looking so professional. I know, come on, President Xavier, you know someone in that picture?
I do.
Yeah, okay, so just our young people just looking so professional, and although I wasn't at this concert, I already know
It was lovely.
just by looking at them that it was a beautiful night. So thank you to the you know, to the BAPA team over there at College Park for putting this together, and I've heard good things about this.
It's vocal and instrumental. It's the whole music program all together at one time.
Here is Mount Diablo High School, their hot cocoa finals cram. As I was out visiting one of our high schools today, everyone was talking about finals. I'm thrilled that our schedule falls in a way so that our young people and families can get the finals out of the way before they go out on the winter break. So so let them have cocoa and let them cram and study and do all that and get that done, and then go off and enjoy the 2-3 weeks that they have off, and come on back. So this is it taking place over at Mount Diablo High School. This is it taking place over at Ignacio Valley High School. Just, you know, happy to see it. This is the leadership team, and you know, just great camaraderie, and just bringing our wonderful students together. And this is over at Meadow Homes. I know this is kind of high school heavy and stuff. I do have some elementary stuff in here, but again, this, I don't know what was going on there, but they got this whole theme like to Starbucks, but it's all around reading and all this type of stuff. So it's a whole theme that they have going on. You know, I'm not going to put one of my elementary people on the spot to explain what it is, but it looks good, and it's just making reading exciting and making stuff exciting for our young people. Really impressed with the things going on over at Meadow Homes. And then, of course, we got Miss Whitfield. You know, a quick story, and I know when she comes to a board meeting, she'll probably share it, but that cello in the middle, she actually gave me a lesson on that, and I've never ever even touched one of those in my life, and she had me playing that thing. So so anyway, if she could help this old guy, then I can only imagine what those carolers were doing. But just again, for our students to be exposed to this is just you know, just great. And then we got some celebrations going on tomorrow. We got over at Sequoia Middle School, holiday social for parents, bringing our parents together, very inclusive. We have our Kwanzaa celebration tomorrow over at the Black Family Resource Center out on the Gateway campus, which is located right next door to Riverview. And then we have they're going to be doing a Pizzoli cook-off and whatnot. Mariachi bands will be over at Shore Acres. And again, what I like about this, if you read this, all schools are invited, right? So like, again, inclusive. Let's include everybody. Let's bring everyone together and celebrate regardless of background, religion, whatever. And just very good. And that's the same with Kwanzaa, and it's the same with the holiday social for parents over there. So just with that, I just, want to wish everyone a happy holidays. Our year is almost halfway done, and, it's been an exciting one. It's had more ups and downs, but we always face challenges when you bring 29,000 young people together and try to prepare them for college and career, and 3,000 employees, and I don't know, close to 60,000 parents and families and whatnot. So anyway, just honored to be able to do this work and to continue to lead this district, and definitely thankful for the leadership and the guidance that you all provide. And with that concludes my presentation. I tried to stretch it out as long as I could, President.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. 15.0, all these things. Organizational meeting items. Oh, do I have to call that to order or something? Annual Board of Education or organizational meeting? Why is that listed? I don't get it. Okay. Or we do that here. Oh, well, but it's so on the agenda, it's okay. Okay, so Education Code sections 35143 and 72125 require that the governing board of each school district hold an annual organizational meeting. And a year in which a regular election for governing board members is held, the meeting shall be held on a day within a 15-day period that commences with the date upon which an elected governing board member takes office. Organizational meetings in years which no such regular election for governing board members is conducted shall be held during the same 15-day period on the calendar. So why do you have to say it twice? Okay, so current board policy 9100 calls for the election of a president and a vice president at the annual organizational meeting of the board. So we moved to 15.2, election of board president. So I will entertain a nomination for board president.
I would like to nominate Trustee McFerrin to be president.
I'll second that.
I don't think so. So, yeah. It'll pop up. Then we have to affirm, because if she didn't pass, then we'd have to, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're elected by
Mhm.
acclamation,
Mm-hmm.
but the vote is good.
Yay, 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. I look forward to serving the role, and I will do my very best.
Should I just do the vice president and then switch? Okay. 15.3, election of the vice president.
Madam President, I would like to nominate Ms. Linda Mayo as our vice president.
Her face.
I would like to second that motion.
Oh, no. Are you accepting the nomination?
I will accept the nomination. Thank you.
Excellent.
Look out, Dr. Clark.
I know. We get to sit next to each other still. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm. Yay. Yay, 5-0. Congratulations. Okay, and then appointment of our board secretary. Do we, we appoint, oh, someone needs to make a motion to appoint Dr. Clark.
Clark remain the board secretary.
Second.
Okay, shall we shuffle? Or do you want to just stay there and take the gavel? Hmm? Yeah, let's shuffle. Madam President. That means you have to scoot over. Where are you? Oh, should I go this way? Yeah. Let's do the time. Okay, that's fine. Here, let me.
It's easier that way. It's too complicated. There's more stuff to move.
This is better. I should have moved. This is better. Wow. Okay, so it looks like now we'll move to the consent agenda.
No.
Nope.
Two left.
We will not move to the consent agenda yet. We are going to move to 15.5, review and potential adoption potential adoption of certificate of signatures for December 2023 to December 2024.
Madam President, I move to adopt the certificate of signatures for December 2023 to December 2024.
I second that.
Okay, and that motion passes 5-0. (15.6) review and potential approval of resolution 24-28 to establish regular board meeting dates, times, and locations for the 2024 calendar year.
Go ahead. Nikki.
I was going to make a motion to approve resolution 23/24-28 to establish regular meeting dates, times, and locations for the 2024 calendar year as indicated.
And Madam President, I just want to make a comment about those meetings is that we generally meet on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, but I'm just going to ask everyone to check them closely. We had some conflicts in January, February, and March, and so some of those may not necessarily follow, but we do kept them to Wednesdays and at least until June. And then in the fall, they're all open and we go back to that pattern. So I just wanted to highlight that. But we do have pre-posted calendar dates for all of our board meetings for the year.
I'll second the motion.
All right, and that passes, so we have a new calendar, 5-0. Right, consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull for discussion?
Madam President, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, and that passes 5-0. So we move on to move on to 20 business action items.
Yes, we have Mr. Vargas here, our CBO, and he's going to be presenting our first interim. And we're very excited about this presentation.
Okay, well, good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Clark. I'll be going through some slides and going through the first interim report. So first, the first interim, California Education Code requires school districts to file their fiscal condition for 2 reporting periods, one through October 31st and one through January 31st. These include projections of the budget through June 30th. So for this first interim period, it's the snapshot of actual income and expenses through October 31st, and then our budgeted projections all the way through June 30th, 2024. Part of the first interim report includes multi-year projections for the next 2 fiscal years, and this is based off the current School Services of California dartboard. So those are the assumptions we used in determining the revenues, the increases in terms of STRS and PERS, and really it's just PERS right now, but that's what we use to develop the first interim report. And then lastly, it requires the governing board to approve for approval and certification. And then moving through the financial reporting certifications, there are 3 types. The first one is the positive certification. Basically, that means that the district can meet its financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent years. The next qualification is qualified, where the district may not meet financial obligations for the current and 2 subsequent years. And then lastly, a district can file a negative certification, basically stating that they will not meet their financial obligations in either the current year or one of the 2 subsequent years. Usually that shows a negative fund balance or the reserve for economic uncertainty is not met for a district. So moving into the first interim, this slide basically describes the notable changes since we adopted our budget back in June. First, we have increased LCFF revenues, primarily in the first and second subsequent year of the multi-year. Our revenues didn't really change in the current year just because we're funded off a 3-year average. But in the out years, we're using an enrollment of roughly 29,000 students. As you can see on the slide with the adopted budget, we were projecting 28,800 students for the current year. So we're well above that. And then in our multi-year projections at the adopted budget, we were actually projecting declines. So based off this information, this CBEDS report that we just filed showed that we were at 29,000, actually 65 students. Since we've been growing the last 2 fiscal years, our multi-year projections we're using flat enrollment. primarily the reason why we are growing is because of the TK expansion. So that is one notable change. The other one is our ADA to enrollment ratio. So the percentage of students coming to school. We were using a 91.5% at the adopted budget, but based off the first 3 months of this school year, we're averaging about 94.5%. But we are using 93.5% to kind of build a buffer because we won't know what we're funded at until May of 2024. Also included in the first interim are carryover funds from the 22-23 fiscal year. And those are primarily restricted programs like ESSER funds, the remaining one-time funding from it's the expanded learning opportunity grant funding from the state, as well as title programs. So Title I, Title II, Title III has carryover. So those are built in. The one thing I did forget on this slide is that we did increase the LCAP supplemental funding to school sites. So that increased roughly by 2.9 million. So that is a big difference. But we are trying to utilize our carryover funds for LCAP supplemental. Also, we removed some budget related to our vacancy savings. I want to say that was roughly a little under 3 million that we took from the budget. So that's a one-time savings. Again, we will review vacancy savings for the second interim report, which I expect some savings we'll see again. But for at least the first interim, we reduced it by roughly 3 million. Also part of the adjustments, we reduced the capital outlay, which was primarily for our technology refresh by 1.5 million. But we're going to utilize our one-time funds to backfill that adjustment. And then we had about a $500,000 decrease in contracted services. And then lastly, of the notable changes is our multi-year projections do include the recently signed tentative agreement with the Medea bargaining unit, which provides for a 9% on the salary schedule increase, as well as 100% coverage of the Kaiser tier rates, which is effective. Well, the salary increase is effective July 1st, and then the Kaiser coverage is effective January 1st. And then we have a subsequent board item that we will be looking for approval on that tentative agreement. So this slide basically reviews the general fund revenues on the unrestricted and restricted side. As you can see, the majority of our unrestricted funds are from the local control funding formula. And then on the restricted side, most of our funds come from state revenues. But combined, we are projecting about 486 million in revenue for the 23-24 school year. And again, the slide just kind of outlines the percentages of each of those types of funds. And then moving forward, this is just a table that shows the general fund expenditures that we are projecting through June 30th. And it's broken out by salaries, certificated and classified, benefits, books and supplies, other operating expenditures, capital outlay, and other outgo. And as you can see, it's broken out unrestricted and restricted, but combined, we're projecting 515 million or $515 million in expenditures. And then this slide just shows the breakout of our expenditures. And just so you're aware, on the unrestricted side, it's roughly about 86 or 87% of our budget goes to salaries and benefits. And then moving on, this slide just basically shows our contributions to some of our restricted programs. We have a total contribution projected for 23-24. About 60 million is going to our special ed programs, roughly a little over 15 million for our routine restricted maintenance account, a small portion to one of our federal programs, and then to our local programs, 1.3 million, which is really related to our stipends that we pay out. And then lastly, we have transfer outs to our deferred maintenance fund of $5 million. And then moving on to the next slide, this is just a table basically outlining all the other funds that are part of the district's financials. And primarily, we show this just to show what the net change is and that none of our other funds have negative ending fund balances. So moving into the multi-year assumptions for the 24-25 and 25-26 school years. As I stated earlier, we're using a flat enrollment of 29,064. Our ADA to enrollment ratio, we're using 93.5%. And for our unduplicated pupil percentage, we're using 47% for each of those years. The COLA on the dartboard that we are using is 3.94% and 3.29% respectively for those 2 years. Federal, state, and local revenues are projected to remain constant after we remove one-time or expiring resources. Primarily, that's going to be our ESSER funding on the restricted side of the budget. And then we are projecting contributions to special ed programs to increase $3 million each of the next 2 years. So the one thing I will make a comment, as I'm sure, I think it was President McFerrin that said she was at a budget workshop at the CSBA conference. So we are aware that the potential COLA could be 1% for 24-25. You will see later in one of my slides in terms of the commitments, and we have a commitment resolution coming on after this board item. We ran the 1% potential COLA in the calculator, and for Mount Diablo, that impact will be about $20 million if it is 1%, using our enrollment assumptions, our ADA to enrollment percentage assumption. So that is part of the commitment resolution. So we're trying to show that if that does happen, that at least we're carving out part of that fund balance may go to a lower COLA in the second year out. Then moving on to the multi-year assumptions for expenditures, we're projecting step and column increases at 1.56% each year. As I mentioned again, the 9% on the scheduled salary increase is built into the multi-year projections. Unrestricted salaries are increasing due to TK expansion. Also, we are accounting for the movement of ESSER funded positions, and then the add back of that almost $3 million that I talked about that we had in one-time savings for the first interim. And then increased benefit costs due to the PERS pension rates and health benefits, but most of the cost related to the Kaiser 100% coverage, we're looking to utilize some of our LCFF supplemental funds to cover that increased cost as part of the action to retain and recruit employees. Also, books and materials for unrestricted resources increased by applying the consumer price index. Restricted resources or books and materials for restricted resources are decreasing due to the removal of one-time funds. And that is for both the 24-25 year and the 25-26 year. And then moving on to services and other operating expenditures, we have increases for projected increases in utilities, property liability insurance, and contracted services. And then on the restricted side, most of that is decreasing again for the removal of one-time funds or expiring funds. And then that's offset by projected increases in special education service contracts, And then capital outlay and other outgo are projected to remain constant. And then indirect costs are adjusted for the removal of restricted programs. And then lastly, our budget is built with just the transfer outs for the 23-24 year. So we are removing that in the out years of the multi-year, which was built into the adopted budget as well. So I know this slide is probably a little hard to read right here, but basically this is the multi-year projection, so showing the revenues and expenditures for each year, and then the components of ending fund balance. So the one thing I will point out is that we are projecting a surplus in the current year of 3.1 million. We are projecting a deficit spend of almost 32 million, but we're spending down our restricted resources. And again, primarily that's ESSER funds. And then in the second year out, we're projecting a deficit spend of 25.8 million of unrestricted dollars, but that is related to the 9% salary increase. So we're spending down our fund balance. And again, we are projecting a deficit spend in the restricted side of 9.8 million. And then in the third year out, we continue the deficit spend. And again, that is related to the ongoing 9% salary increase, where we're spending our fund balance down. And then we are projecting a $4.9 million deficit in the restricted side of the budget. So with that all being said, really what we're looking for is to maintain our 3%. So we are still maintaining our 3%, but we still have fund balance in our commitments. So basically we are showing that we have about a 13% fund balance in the third year out. So moving on, basically, you know, for consideration, future considerations and risks, we have the state economy. And I would say probably primarily it's the COLA, and what we will find out January 10th with the governor's budget for 24-25. So that's a big one. The expiring and spending down of one-time funds. So we still will have one-time funds that we'll be utilizing in 24-25 and 25-26. And then, as I stated earlier, PERS rates are increasing, as well as health benefits. So that's another concern. And then is our enrollment and student attendance maintaining its growth? So are we going to still stay flat or close to that 29,000 student number? And are we going to maintain 93.5% attendance rate? And this is just our budget calendar timeline. So we are currently in December. So we're presenting the first interim report. And then our audit report will go on Friday. And then we'll present the audit in January. And then also in January, we'll get the governor's 24-25 budget proposal. And for us is when we start developing the 24-25 budget. And then fast forward to March, we'll be back presenting the second interim. So for the first interim, as I showed on the multi-year, we'll be able to maintain our 3% minimum required reserve. So we're recommending a positive certification for the 23-24 first interim financial report. That's it.
Well, I'll jump in. Thank you so much for all of your hard work on this. It was very informative and clear the way that you laid it out. I really appreciate that. And I am very much appreciative that along with our 9% salary increase and full health benefits, we are still achieving a positive certification. And that is huge. That's really, really important. And it's something that we strive for to keep that positive certification so that we can keep ourselves afloat. And so really appreciate all of your work to make sure that would be feasible. Just a few quick questions. You mentioned the 20 million commitment that is set aside for if the COLA goes to 1%. Are you concerned about if the COLA goes to 0? From the
So
state?
everything that I'm reading, it's somewhere in the range of 1% to maybe 1.75%. So I'm not anticipating it to be 0. Again, that's kind of the range that we've been hearing about. So I haven't run that calculation.
Okay, thank you. And then are we on track to spend all of our ESSER dollars by the deadline next fall at this point?
Yes. And I mean, we will keep adjusting the budget and we will utilize, we will do everything we can to make sure that we're not losing dollars.
Thank
So,
you.
yes.
Okay. And then just lastly, the deferred maintenance, removing it in the out years, is that something that that we should be watching and be concerned about going forward, whether we can maintain our facilities?
Right. So I mean, we're trying to utilize all the Measure J funds and then, you know, do what we can, you know, like the CalShape application. So we continue to look for additional funding.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I move that we approve the Mount Diablo Unified School District first interim report 23-24.
I'll second that.
And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Farkas.
Do I need to be here for the second one? Okay. So as I talked about earlier, this next item is the resolution to designate our components of ending fund balance.
So I would make a motion to approve resolution 23/24-33 designating certain general funds as committed fund balance.
Second.
I mentioned this to Dr. Clark. I'm disappointed that textbooks are being set aside at this point in time, and I hope they are a priority when we have additional funds.
So the one comment I would make is we're going to utilize our one-time funding to continue it in this year and next year. And then in the third year out, we do have a commitment projected for textbooks, but we have that as a priority.
And I think just for the public's understanding, can you explain the first line item here, the negotiation settlement amount?
I don't have the number. Can you remind me? Is
Sorry,
it
it's the
45 million?
Yes, 24-25 negotiation settlement, 45 million.
Okay, so the first line item on the committed fund balance is 45 million, and what that is the projected impact to unrestricted LCFF base. And so we commit it this year, and then next year about half of it goes down or gets paid out. So then that commitment drops to like 22 million, I believe. And then in the third year out, it gets spent, and so it's down to 0. But basically, we're allocating our current fund balance to pay for our future 9% salary increase.
So overall, this is to help cover this is to cover
Correct.
the negotiation that we are voting on tonight ultimately, but that we've come to an agreement with Medea and including the costs of the Me Too agreements with the other
Correct.
The other associations.
The other bargaining units.
Bargaining units.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, and that passes 5-0. Thanks again, Mr. Vargas.
Before Mr. Vargas leaves, I just really want to just recognize his leadership and his work with his team. He's come in and during a transitional period and has really helped out. It's been a very tough couple of years with COVID and with the way that money was coming our way and all the different plans we had to produce and all of that. And Mr. Vargas has just been this extremely competent and calming factor to really come in and kind of just right this financial ship that we're in. So I just want to embarrass him a little bit and just recognize that. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Clark,
Yeah.
for embarrassing me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we move on to 19.3 review and or is it? Yes. Sorry. 19.3 review and potential approval of the mediated agreement between the Mount Diablo Education Association, Medea, and the Mount Diablo Unified School District.
And then before he starts, I want to recognize Dr. Rubio and his team working collaboratively with our fiscal department to again see what we can give. Our ultimate priority is to keep the district solvent. However, we also know that all of our employees are underpaid. And that's the world we live in. And I know this board has been very committed to giving raises across the board to all of our employees and to compensate them. And this board, you gave me direction to give what we can. And I know this is a stretch now, especially with the with the discerning news from the state of California. But we are confident, and I think that that things are going to work themselves out in Sacramento. But I know one thing, that our students deserve our support, and this board has been unwavering in their support. So I'm very happy and proud that we're able to bring this agreement forward. And I'm going to let Dr. Rubio acknowledge everyone who was involved. But I just really want to, again, thank this board and then thank Dr. Rubio and his team for pulling this through.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clark. Good evening, board members. Good evening again, Dr. Clark. Good work, as you know, comes through good collaboration. And whether that's the HR office and the fiscal office, or it's all of our directors in the back and our support personnel, or it's with the really strong collaborative spirit and relationships we've established in the last 3.5 years between ourselves and HR and President Johnson with Medea, or Vice President Linda Ortega, who's also really great to work with. We get good work done. 3.5 years ago, when I sat in this room with Dr. Clark on my interview panel, along with Ms. Johnson, actually, I said, I really believe when money's available, we should always do our best to pass money on and make us the most competitive district we can be. And I believe we're doing that potentially tonight with your support and approval. Happy to have this agreement in front of you tonight for your consideration. Thank you.
Well, this is very exciting. I'd be happy to move to approve the mediated agreement between the Mount Diablo Education Association, Medea, and the Mount Diablo Unified School District.
Second.
I think we have one comment card. Is that for this item?
It says after you.
Are there 2 cards put in there? No, I'm joking, whether it was like approved or not approved.
And that motion passes.
And before he goes too far, I'll also say, in the spirit of collaboration, happy birthday to Mr. Vargas, whose birthday is tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Darius.
Right, Anita Johnson.
Thank you, trustees and management, for all of your support in this, all your backing, and everybody's hard work. Thank you all very much. Everybody's thrilled.
Thank you, Anita Johnson, Linda Ortega, the whole marketing team for, it can't be done without you. Thank you.
Okay, so I forgot I had another item. Our next item is item 19.4 for your consideration. The bylaws, school districts are required to sunshine our collective bargaining proposals in an open session of the board, and we have before you tonight our proposal as well as the clerical secretarial technical unit CST.
I move to approve the initial successor agreement proposal for the clerical secretarial technical CST unit and Mount Diablo Unified School District's initial successor agreement proposal to the clerical secretarial technical unit.
Second that.
Thank you.
And that motion passes 5-0. So now 19.5, review changes to board policies and administrative regulations per California School Board Association recommendations.
Madam President, I know she's gonna probably kill me tomorrow, but Ms. Sachs, can I have you just come up and explain to the board about these quarterly updates and your work with Laura and whatnot, and how we're gonna stay up to date from here on out. So I'll pay for this tomorrow, but that's all right.
No, you won't pay for it. Trustees, Dr. Adam Clark. So what we are trying to do as a system is to come into a situation where we have a regular presentation of board policies and ARs that come to the board for updates. We went through a massive effort of updating all of our board policies, but generally quarterly, we get information from the California School Board Association with a list of revisions based on changes in state and federal law. Because they've been very busy, we actually got an update not only in September, but also one in October. And the ones in October really had a lot to do with the effort to ban instructional materials and textbooks. And so there were quite a few additional policies and ARs that the state really wanted us to kind of revise immediately. There's a level of urgency, and so we've tried to take that on. You're going to see that these are coming in batches, so we work in different departments in order to bring these forward. So these are here for information, and because some of them are from September and some of them are from October, you're going to see kind of two batches in front of you tonight. But we are committed to do this as an executive cabinet, bring them in front of you so you have time to take a look at them, read them all, I'm sure thoroughly line by line. And then of course, we can make revisions as necessary. We good? Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Sachs.
you.
Any questions? That was just an information item. Okay, we can.
I just want to say thank you for this, and I appreciate the checklist being attached too, so we can kind of keep track in our own minds as well, where we are on those updates. I just wanted to note that on the draft AR 3311.3 design build contracts, there's a section that talks about the skilled and trained workforce, and I think this is explaining the requirement from the state that our contractors need to show that they are using a skilled and trained workforce to perform all work on the project. The entity may demonstrate such commitment through a project labor agreement by becoming a party to a district's project labor agreement or through an agreement with the district. So as we are looking at some of the benefits of a project labor agreement, meeting those requirements of the skilled and trained workforce is one of those benefits. Thank you.
Yeah. 19.6.
It's just the October batch.
It's
So
the
it's the
October.
same. So
yeah, thank
she
you.
presented on both.
Okay, 19.7, review and potential approval of update to administrative. Oh, sorry. Administrative regulation, 5141.21, administering medication and monitoring health conditions. Dr. Clark.
Linda Pete, no, I'm sorry. No, this is just an updated policy. So it's already been presented to the board. So we're just asking for approval.
Okay, great.
Madam President, I move to approve to update Administrative Regulation 5141.21, administering medication and monitoring health conditions.
Second that?
And I just want to appreciate that it clarifies that if a student is carrying naloxone on campus, they will not face disciplinary actions. So it's making that change in our policies.
Thank you for mentioning that. That motion passes 5-0. And so we move on to 19.8, review and potential approval of minor edit to E 4219.21-E1 classified professional standards exhibit.
Again, it's just a
And this
minor
is-
edit, so we're just asking for approval.
All right, so
I move to approve the minor edit to E 421.21-E1 classified professional standards exhibit.
Second.
we move to 20.9, review and potential approval of the nomination of a new member to the Budget Advisory Committee for the 2023 to 2024 school year.
Yeah, so this is the CST spot that they have on the Budget Advisory Committee, and the person that they're moving forward is Deborah Hickey. We're asking for approval.
I move that we approve the nomination of Deborah Hickey to the Budget Advisory Committee for the 23-24 school year.
I'll second that.
And that motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Debbie Hickey. All right, so we move on to 20.10, notice of public hearing and review of extended school year ESY waiver for 2024. And it's just a notice. Any all right, so we received information. Any questions or comments? No. Okay. No meeting extension. No carryover items from closed session. Any suggestions for future agenda items? All right, well then I will adjourn this meeting.
Oh, President, thank you. You got us out at 8:30. This is great. Yes, we like